Welcome back to another Who's Tasha Jackson video. And um, I just kind of wanted to, do these videos to explain, you know, um, what my experiences have been. So, in order to help to inspire and to be beneficial to other people, because I feel like, why have I had all these experiences in my life if not to share them with others? And so, you know, um, you might say, "Oh, Tasha and her stories." You'll hear me say that over and over again. Oh, her stories. There's always something to learn because those are things I learned from. So hopefully, you all are finding this video series to be beneficial and answering some of the questions about who I am and what I do and what is it that I'm trying to do, and how I want to leave a legacy and make a mark. Today's topic is about how I became a parent and just parenting in general, because we're living in some very, very difficult times. And, um, I have been working with young people for over 15 years of all ages. And, you know, um, we try, I think, as parents to not parent how we parent. If we adopt a more mindful approach, the things that I learned, or the way that I was raised, I was like, I'm not doing that with my kids. No. And so I had grown up with lots of non-examples of how to parent and how to interact with my children. And and so let me just kind of start, again at the beginning, except this time it's not from childhood. From this time it's about the time I was 25. So um I was married at 22, and at 25 I had gotten pregnant, but I didn't know that I was pregnant, because it's very interesting that in health class you learn about diet, nutrition, and using condoms, but you don't learn about when you're pregnant and what that looks like and what that feels like. And so, a lot of women, I think, they don't know that they're pregnant when they're pregnant because they are not taught what the signs are of pregnancy. um you know unless you're trying, right? Unless you're trying, then you kind of feel. But if you're not trying, and at that time we were not trying, I didn't know that I was pregnant, and I actually had a spontaneous abortion or miscarriage at 25, and then again at 27. Which, miscarriage is something that is not discussed enough in our society. It is much more common than what we have been told or made to believe. It can, like, the trauma can range from very mild trauma to very severe trauma, depending on what stage you have miscarried. I had a friend that unfortunately miscarried at 4 months. Mine were just at 8 weeks. So I don't want to say that my experience, I don't want to devalue my experience, but at the same time, I I know myself, and if I had been further along in my pregnancy, it would have been much more traumatic. And so, these are things that are not really discussed. They're not prevalent in our society. It's kind of taboo to talk about miscarriage. And so I really want to open that conversation and say that, again, it's actually a very common thing. Every single woman that I know that has had children has had at least one miscarriage or spontaneous abortion. And and the way that miscarriage is also perceived in our society, I think, is needing a change, in that if a woman has a miscarriage, it's her fault. It's not your fault if you have a miscarriage. It's just something that happens. And for me, I can say that probably the underlying cause was, I had been diagnosed with hypothyroidism, so most likely that was the cause. of those 2 miscarriages, but you can never say for sure. And so, whenever I had those miscarriages, the first one I didn't know, but even whenever later on I have found out, I did a little ritual because, that was life that was in me and that I carried. And so no matter if it was one day or, if it was full term, it doesn't matter. It was still life. And so, I had honored that life that was within me, even though I had not known during that time. And the second time, I definitely knew I was pregnant and I definitely knew I had a miscarriage. That was the more traumatic one that I had. And it took actual therapy for me to kind of really move through the emotions of that experience. And so, again, if you're a woman that has experienced miscarriage, or even if you are the father, and because it affects the father as well. And so, even if, no matter who it is, if you've experienced miscarriage in your life or you've been affected by miscarriage or spontaneous abortion, I really urge you to seek out professionals if you're guided to do so in order to help you to have closure and to move through those experiences. Because without the help of professionals, I would not have been able to move through those experiences in the way that I did. And so when I turned 27, when I was 27, I became pregnant with my daughter. And it teaching prepared me, let's just say this, teaching prepared me to be a parent. So in one of the previous videos that I have done, I had discussed, being a teacher of kindergarten through adults. That really had prepared me for parenting for sure. Every stage of development, of child development, educational psychology, child psychology, I had to learn all of those things in my master's degree program and through my teaching certification program. And so that really is what prepared me to become a parent, and also my own drive, as I've talked before about, you know, being an aqua son, if pregnancy was an exam, I would have passed with 100%. I was that mom. I was always reading. I was always watching videos. My husband at the time, he was taking the yoga classes with me. We were in the hospital classes. We were always with the midwives. We were doing all of those things. But, first time parents, um, that's the experience of some first time parents, is preparing for the baby to come and really, trying to do the best that you can in that moment, because again, it's not something that you learn how to do. If you are lucky and you have family members that are very supportive to help guide you through the process. But I did not have that. And so I really had to rely on myself, and just some members in my community to really guide me through the process of being pregnant and then having a baby. And so when I was 28, I had my daughter. When I was 30, I had my son. And, just the whole experience of being a new parent, with the first one, you're just like, if someone sneezes in the same room, you're like, get away from my baby, but by the second one, you're like, whatever, I'm too tired. I'm too tired to even deal with this. As I'm sure many people that are parents can relate. And, I only have two. And again, kudos to parents that have many. I have a friend who has six. And, in the very ultra Orthodox community that I was living in before, it's, and the one that I live in now, it's, I don't subscribe to the religion of the community that I live in, but they're the type that they have very large families where they have 6+ kids. And that's also the type of religious community that I was in, where everyone had 6 or more kids. And so that experience was not for me. Definitely. It was like 2, maybe 3 max. That's it, because parenting is difficult and not for the faint of heart, for sure, especially in these times. And Um, and so, after the birth of my son, was whenever I got divorced. So he just turned one. Um, just after a few months, the process was complete. I had moved to another city, actually. So I became a single mom when I was 32 with a 1 year old and a 3 year old living in a city that was different than their dad, trying to build a new life. And, it was really complicated, but, I woke up every day. I did what was needed. I focused on myself whenever I needed to. The self-care is really, really, really important. I cannot stress that enough, even for dads. Self-care, you've got to take time out, go to the bathroom by yourself, make that a boundary. Your kids don't have to follow you into the bathroom. If they're little, it's a different situation. If they're crawling, it's a different situation. But, you know, I had a friend that she would tell me that she would take her kids and she would be on the toilet and she would be holding her kids. And I'm like, I refuse to do that. If I had to go to the bathroom, I put my child in like the pack and play, or in one of those gate things. I don't know what you call that thing, but a gate thing. And I went to the bathroom and I had my 3 minutes, by myself. And whenever I think some of the best advice that I had received when my daughter was born was sleep when she sleeps. Because, man, the sleep deprivation is one of the most difficult things. And so, I really took that advice and I always slept whenever she slept, because a lot of moms are like, oh, the baby's sleeping. Now I can do the laundry. I can clean the house. I can do this. I can do that. No, rest, 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 rest. If you're a new parent, rest, rest. Because there is going to be a lot of sleepless nights. At this time of the video, my children are 8 and 10, and they still wake me up in the middle of the night for things. And so it's rare now, of course, but my son has nightmares and he'll come to my bed, or my daughter, she will have a really difficult time sleeping and she just wants to come and lay in my bed, even if she's not going to sleep, and she just wants to lay with me, and so it's, really important that you take time out for yourself, you rest, and you have boundaries with your children, because now whenever I need privacy or I need quiet time, I just tell them very politely, I need just a little bit of time for myself. And I come to my room and I spend my little bit of time for myself. And whenever I'm ready, it's like I put myself in a timeout, right? And I spend a little bit of time for myself. And then I come out whenever I'm ready. And my children really respect that. And then they do the same too. Now they recognize I'm feeling angry right now. I need to have a timeout, right? That avoids a lot of fights. Setting the boundaries from very early on really teaches your children how to set boundaries with other people, other kids, other family members, that they feel that they need to have boundaries with, because our relationship with family members and our children's relationship with family members are very different. And so, whenever you model those behaviors to your children from a very young age, they become integrated and they become a part of who they are. And so, as I was moving through, being a single mom, and there were times when I had to take my kids to work with me into my classroom, which I was very fortunate to be able to do. So both of my children grew up in my classroom. Some of my students I would be teaching, and my students were holding my kids. I worked in a small private school and I worked in a small charter school that was possible to do. Um, and we became just a big family. And so again, that experience, although very difficult, I was very fortunate to have that. Um, and so I know that the struggle is real. I know that the struggle is hard. I know that there are times whenever you feel like there's no support. There's no resources available, things like that. And so, I really want to um, congratulate. I want to give gratitude and I want to give appreciation to all the parents out there, especially now. Again, it's really hard, right? We're all on a strict budget. My household is no different. We're having to not participate in sports. We're not able to. Um, I live in Arizona, in southern Arizona, where it's very hot. So not only am I bound to the house because gas prices are high, but also but also because it's so hot outside, at night it can still be, 110 degrees. So going outside is not an option in July in Arizona, in southern Arizona. And so there, just know that there's there are resources, there are help, there is help. You can reach out to me for a consultation, if you need some resources, if you need help with your kids, anything from schooling to, I'm having some kind of issue. Now, also remember, I am not a doctor. I am not a behavioral health professional. I'm not a medical health professional. So if it's something like that, definitely reach out to your pediatrician. Always, number one, first reach out to the pediatrician if there's really a concern that you're having. Um, Reach out to the family doctor and get advice or get help from them first. They're going to always be your first line. Make sure that you have one that you trust, that you develop a really strong relationship with. And then that way, you can have all your questions answered and you can have any kinds of fears or concerns alleviated in regards to your children. For educational things, absolutely, you can come and talk to me. That's my expertise. Master's degree in education. You can come and ask me questions. There's, there's so many things. I cannot talk about all the things of parenting or, in this video, but I will say this: empower your children, teach them how to become independent. Because one of the things that I've really come to understand in my life and through my life experiences is that if you invest in your kids in a really young age, it gets a lot easier. It gets a lot easier. My daughter, she helps to cook. I'm starting to teach my son how to cook. I can trust them that if I leave the house, it's not going to be a disaster or that they're going to be fighting, right? Like, those are all really important things. There's trust between us, there's communication, there are boundaries, there's respect, there's privacy. There are all of these things that, just through empowering my children and modeling to them the expected behaviors, that has really worked in my favor, especially now that I have both of my kids. My daughter, uh, is 10 and my son is 8. And so as they're venturing into puberty, the next stage of development, it really has come in very handy, because if my daughter's feeling angry, she just says, I need time for myself. I need to go to my room. And then of course, celebrate their successes. My son at 8 years old, he studies in aerospace engineering. How exciting is that, right? And so I put him in this camp last week, and, he just loved it. He had such a great time. It was such a valuable experience for him. And it made him feel validated that the things that he's interested in, that he's able to do. The same for my daughter. Both of them are into sports, but my daughter, she's an artist and an entrepreneur also. Actually, I get a lot of inspiration from her for my entrepreneurship. I ask her questions all the time because she has a natural affinity for it as well. Oh, by the way, my South node is in Capricorn. So that's another reason why I didn't know it was a hidden talent there. Um, but, you know, you really can become a team. You can really become a unit if you empower your children. And so if you lead from that place of empowerment, then that investment that you have in your kids is only going to continue to grow and come back to you because they're going to feel that love and they're going to feel that again that validation and that really to me personally is what creates cohesion in the family, making that family time. And I never had my kids in sports at the same time. I had my kids in sports separately so that my son can watch my daughter in soccer, my daughter can watch my son play baseball and cheer him on, right? And so again, empowering them and then also empowering them to empower each other has been a really important mainstay. So with that, again, if you want to reach me, naturallyinspiredmedia.com, fill out the contact page, or you can book a consultation with me, 1 hour consultation, one-to-one. And I look forward to having you all join me in another video, and I look forward to it. Hi. If you like the content that I create, please do make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And check out my website, naturallyinspiredmedia.com, and some of the other videos that I have produced here.